Hi, I'm Raleigh Jenkins with ABC Home and Commercial Services, the president of the company, proud to be sponsors of the feeding and care of Pablo and Olive.
So howdy, my name is Cynthia Colbert. I'm one of the hoofstock keepers here at the Houston Zoo, and I'm one of the keepers for Pablo and Olive, our giant anteaters. And today we're going to be talking about them to celebrate World Anteater Day. So right now we have Sweet Miss Olive, her roommates. She's 16 years old this year, and just like most 16-year-old girls, her favorite thing in the world is shoes. She absolutely loves old shoes. So Olive was actually hand-reared by a keeper. She unfortunately was not able to be raised by her mom. And we think just because she had to be hand-reared by humans, she loves shoes. It's one of her favorite enrichment items that we can give her. She loves all the unique smells and just loves to stick her very long and beautiful snout into it. So right now, Olive's eating some of her insectivore pellets, and you may get a quick glimpse of her tongue. Anteater tongues can be 2 feet long, and they can go in and out of their mouth over 100 times in 1 minute. So right now, she's eating her insectivore pellets, and one of her favorite things in the world, peanut butter. She absolutely loves peanut butter, and probably her second favorite is avocado. So here in the zoo, we do give them the insectivore pellet, which is extremely protein dense, to mimic what they would eat in the wild, which is termites and anteaters, whence they get their name from. So anteaters, they can tear into termite mounds with those huge, beautiful claws that are on her front feet. Right now, they're a little hard to see because anteaters' claws are so long. They actually have to bend over underneath, and they walk on their knuckles, pretty similar to how gorillas walk too. So they'll use those nice, beautiful, long claws to rip open termite mounds, and then they can eat termites as fast as possible in 30-second little increments, and then they walk away. They still can get stung on their tongue by the termites and anteaters, so whenever they go, it's very much a dine and dash method to go from termite mound to termite mound or ant mounds. We are very thankful for our giant anteaters because compared to all our other yards in the zoo, we do live in Houston, Texas, so that means we have a lot of pests like ants. Our anteaters do a phenomenal job. The second ants try to pop up in this yard, they eat and destroy them. They absolutely love to eat any wild bugs that they can get their hands on, but again, Olive's favorite is peanut butter. So Olive also has a boyfriend named Pablo. Right now he's not in the exhibit just so Olive gets her time in the spotlight, but they are a breeding pair. Both of our giant anteaters are part of the SSP program. All giant anteaters in zoos are going to be part of the breeding program. In the past, Olive and Pablo have had kids together. They've had 2 pups in the past so far. Right now they are not recommended to breed, but we do have them living together off and on just so they can keep each other company. Olive, though, is a little bit bigger than Pablo, and she loves to put Pablo in his place when she needs to remind him who is boss. She's the big old boss of the yard, but even though she's the boss of the yard, she gets along great with all of our animals here in the mixed species yard. We have 6 different species, so that's 5 other species that live with our giant anteaters, including our capybara, our Baird's tapirs, our rheas, who's standing right next to Olive right now trying to eat the insectivore pellets too, and we have screamers and swans. So we do get asked a lot, well, why do we have so many different animals living in one exhibit? This is just to simulate naturally out in the wild. They'd be mixing a lot of different species. So it just provides a better quality of life with them. They get to interact with multiple different species just how they would, and it engages their brain more and encourages them to be social with other species. So right now, actually, we have little Miss Catherine up at the front eating insectivore pellets with Olive too. She gets her own food with all the other rheas in the morning, but all of our animals tend to like to share with each other. But we also have in the yard out in the distance, you can see Angelica and Liza, our Coscarova swans, and then those other funny looking birds are actually our southern screamers. So we have Boba and Chucky, and they are named for their very beautiful, loud screaming call. Sometimes you'll hear a very loud bird call from this side of the zoo, and it's usually our screamers. Boba, our female, she's pretty cute. Her scream is a lot higher pitched and squeakier than Chucky's, who's a little bit louder and a little bit deeper. But they get along great with our giant anteaters. So today is World Anteater Day, celebrating giant anteaters. Not only just giant anteaters, it also celebrates all the other species of anteaters like Tumandoas. a lot of people wonder, well, what's the closest relative of an anteater? Because they have no idea what it looks like or what its cousins may be. Their closest relatives are actually going to be armadillos and sloths, aside from other anteaters too. Which sometimes it may be hard to tell, but if you actually look at a giant anteater's back feet and their front feet, you can actually see how pretty similar they can be to armadillos. So little Miss Olive, she's about 6 foot long from the tip of her nose to the tip of her beautiful long tail. And that beautiful long tail is not just for show. They use that tail to make themselves look bigger to predators too. And also, giant anteaters will use that tail as a built-in blanket. They're very, very cute whenever they curl up under the sun with their tail-like blanket. So because these guys eat termite and ants, they have to have an extremely high metabolism to make sure that they can get all the nutrients that they need. Their body temperature is actually one of the lowest in the animal kingdom. Their body temperature is only 90 degrees, 90.3 degrees, whereas ours is 98.8. We're a lot hotter than these guys, so they tend to get cold, and that's why they have that beautiful built-in blanket. As the colder winter months hit around Texas, you may see the anteaters less and less, but they're usually just going to be curled up in the back of the exhibit with their beautiful tails draped over them like a nice cozy little blanket. Our anteaters do enjoy sleeping because naturally giant anteaters are actually diurnal and nocturnal. They're going to be more active at sunrise and sunset, and there's actually been studies done that anteaters that live closer to city environments tend to be more nocturnal than diurnal too. So during around high noon, these guys will be sleeping, but they do like to get up off and on early in the morning and evening, and that's when they eat their best. Of course, Olive, she's welcome for food any time of day. Day or night, rain or shine, she's always ready for food. It's one of her favorite things besides just shoes. So we do have our partner, conservation partner at the zoo, the Giant Anteater Project. We are very glad that we can support them in actually protecting giant anteaters out in the wild, and we're very thankful for our corporate sponsors like ABC that helps us not only take care of anteaters, but we can take better care of anteaters in our own care in captivity, but also help our conservation partners too. So we're very thankful for their support, and Olive is very thankful for any food that she gets that we get from our wonderful sponsors that help feed our animals here. So right now we do have another RIA coming up. A lot of people ask, do the animals always get along? Well, Miss Olive is the top dog of the yard, but she gets along well with all of our other animals. We do also out in the yard have our big, huge capybara family that Olive loves to look and see, and she'll swim at the same time as all the other capybara family. And that is one thing not a lot of people realize. Giant anteaters are actually wonderful swimmers. And these guys love to take a bath. So while other animals like to take baths for cooling purposes, especially like our elephants on the other side of the zoo who love bath time and do it to keep cool, giant anteaters actually use it just to mainly stay clean. So out in the wild, when they're going from termite mound to termite mound and ant mound, they can get a bunch of termites or ants on them that they're not able to eat. So they'll go into the water and wash any termites or any ants or anything else off of them. They actually really, really enjoy being clean, and one of their favorite things in the morning after they get their food, they love to actually get showers, and us keepers, we can use hoses and water tubs, and we love to give these guys baths in the morning. Every now and then, during the day, you'll also see them out in the gigantic pool we have in our mixed species yards, swimming along our tapirs and our capybaras, too. Little Miss Olive, she's pretty famous for every time she comes in the evening, she immediately goes to her water tub and gives herself a nice old clean bath in that water. She loves bath time, and she loves to stay clean, and we also like her staying clean as a keeper, too. So we just got asked the question, well, where can we find these guys at the zoo? So these guys are in the Pantanal section of the Houston Zoo. So if you go through the Pantanal section past the jaguars and past the giant otters, you'll actually see our giant mixed species exhibit. So not only will you see our bears, tapirs, and our capybaras, that's where you'll be able to find our anteaters. Sometimes they're asleep in a curled little ball, but if you keep an eye out, you will be able to see Olive and Pablo out in the yard. So with the cooler temps coming in, we got asked, will they be able to stay visible in the cold? So as it gets colder and colder, there are a lot of other animals around the zoo. If the temperature gets so low, we do not put them out on exhibit, just because just like when it gets very cold, we don't want to stay outside. So we allow them to stay in the back with heated access. So when it gets very, very cold, our anteaters are not that very cold hardy, so we will pull them in the back. But thankfully, we are in Texas, and at least one of the good points about that is we do not often have super cold temperatures, so they do get to stay outside most of the time. So right now you can see she's still trying to lick the peanut butter off of everywhere where we spread it, and you may be able to get a quick shot of her tongue. So again, it's 2 foot long, and it can go in and out of their mouth over 100 times in 1 minute, which is very crucial for how they would eat out in the wild. Again, these guys are very much dine and dashers, so once they break into that termite mound, they have to get as many termites or ants into their mouth as possible before they start being bitten, and then they can walk off. Giant anteaters don't actually have any teeth, so all Olive has in her very tiny, adorable little mouth is just her 2 foot long tongue. And it's very nice that they don't have teeth, because that actually lets us as keepers and lets actually people at the zoo who do the giant anteater tour are able to feed them safely. And again, Olive loves peanut butter. She will gladly eat peanut butter from anybody that she can. So we got asked another question. Thank you guys for tuning into this Facebook Live today for World Anteater Day. We again want to thank ABC Home and Commercial Services for being a wonderful sponsor to the Houston Zoo, and we hope that you guys come and visit the zoo this winter.